Welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to tackle leadership, but with a twist.
Okay.
What if you could be a leader? Even without like a fancy title.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're going to be unpacking today
Okay.
with Clay Scroggins' book, How to Lead When You're Not in Charge.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting approach because it kind of breaks down this idea that leadership is only for the select few, right?
Right.
This makes it relevant to everyone,
Yeah.
no matter where they are in their career.
Everyone. Mm-hmm.
So Scroggins, right off the bat, throws this idea at us. Influence, not authority,
Right.
is the true currency of leadership.
Makes sense.
When you think about it, haven't we all seen this play out in real life?
All the time.
Like, you think about
Yeah.
figures like Martin Luther King Jr.,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, his leadership didn't come from holding a political office.
Right.
It was his vision,
Vision.
his courage,
Courage.
and his ability to just inspire others that sparked a movement.
Exactly.
And so it really does challenge our assumptions about what leadership looks like.
Absolutely.
You know, sometimes it's almost like if you think about those people who are relying on their title to lead,
Right.
it's like trying to steer a grocery cart with a broken wheel.
Oh, yeah.
You might look like you're in control,
Yeah.
but you're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
And so to gain influence, you need a solid foundation.
Right.
And that's where identity comes in.
Yeah.
And so what really stood out to you about Scroggins' take on identity and leadership?
I mean, this whole idea of like strong self-identity underpins effective leadership really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Like, until we really understand who we are,
Yeah.
we can't lead ourselves,
Yeah.
let alone others.
Right.
And I love how he breaks down identity into these like 4 key facets.
Yeah.
Right? Like yourself in time, like how your past shapes you, yourself in relationships, who you are in the context of others,
Yeah.
your personality,
Yeah.
like those innate traits,
Right.
and then finally your self-determination, like the values you choose to prioritize.
Yeah.
It's just such a holistic way of looking at who you are.
It is. And to really get a handle on those different aspects, he uses this like brilliant analogy of an audio mix, right? So it's like we are the sound engineer of our own lives,
It's good.
deciding which voices we allow to define us and at what volume,
Okay.
right? It's about being intentional about what influences us.
Right.
So what do you think for our listeners? Like, what are some of the volume knobs that people should be paying attention to?
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah.
It's different for everyone.
Right.
But I think about who you're allowing to speak into your life, right?
Right.
Are you surrounded by voices of doubt or encouragement? Or are you giving more weight to criticism or affirmation?
Right.
And perhaps most importantly, what's the volume of your inner critic?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Scroggins highlights how crucial it is to kind of like turn that down
Yeah.
and amplify the voices that build you up,
Yeah.
that align with your values,
Yeah.
and that push you toward growth.
Right. It's like choosing your soundtrack, right?
Exactly.
You want something that energizes you and inspires you, not drags you down.
Right.
And for Scroggins, the most important track in that mix should be God's voice.
Okay.
And so he argues that when your sense of self is rooted in God's love and acceptance, that's when you can really step into your full potential as a leader.
Yeah.
And this is where that inherent ambition within us comes in.
Right.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So, like, Scroggins reminds us that ambition itself isn't bad.
Right.
It's actually woven into our creation.
Our creation.
He points us all the way back to Genesis 1.28.
Okay.
Where God instructs humanity to, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it.
Right.
That subdue part, right.
Yes.
That's a powerful call to action.
Exactly.
It's ambition directed outwards toward shaping and influencing the world around us.
Right.
You know that Hebrew word for subdue, kabosh?
Yes.
Always makes me think about that Seinfeld episode with Joe Davola.
Okay.
And his threats to put the kibosh on things.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's etymologically sound, but it does highlight that inherent drive.
Right.
We all have to shape our reality.
Right.
And so Scroggins' point is that this drive
Yeah.
doesn't just magically appear when we land a leadership position.
No, it doesn't.
It's there all along.
It's always there.
We just need to learn how to harness it
Right.
Even when we're not in charge.
Yeah.
And he calls this the art of self-leadership.
Self-leadership.
But what I appreciate about it is that he makes it clear this isn't about manipulating your way to the top.
No.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on what true self-leadership looks like?
Okay.
Especially when you're not the one with the title.
So I think self-leadership is about taking responsibility for your actions, your growth, your impact on others. It's about making those conscious choices that align with your values, even when no one is watching.
Yeah.
Right? Think about showing up on time.
Right.
Keeping your promises.
Yeah.
Following through on commitments.
Right.
These are all little acts of self-leadership.
Yeah.
They demonstrate that discipline and integrity, even in those small moments.
Right.
Right.
And those small moments add up.
They really do, yeah.
It's about building that foundation of character.
Yeah.
And Scroggins outlines 3 key principles for effective self-leadership. So first, monitoring your heart, right?
Yeah.
Being aware of your motivations and actively guarding against, pride, jealousy, resentment.
All those things,
all that bad stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's constantly checking in with yourself, asking, why am I doing this?
Right.
What's driving my actions? And making sure our ambition is directed in a healthy way.
Exactly.
And not fueled by our ego or insecurity.
Right.
So if we discover those less than ideal motivations lurking beneath the surface, that's where the second principle comes in, monitoring your behavior.
Right.
Scroggins reminds us that we need to be receptive to feedback.
Yeah.
Have you ever received feedback that was tough to swallow?
Oh, yeah.
But ultimately helped you grow?
Absolutely. All the time.
Yeah, because it's almost like, feedback, especially constructive feedback, is like a mirror.
It is.
It shows us how our actions are perceived by others.
Right.
And sometimes that reflection isn't always flattering,
Exactly.
But if we can push past that initial defensiveness and really listen, there's incredible potential for growth there.
Absolutely.
And so it's about recognizing that we don't have all the answers.
Right.
And being open to different perspectives.
Yeah.
And Scroggins takes it a step further.
Okay.
He suggests we actively seek out constructive criticism.
Right.
Not just from those above us, but from our peers as well.
Our peers,
And so it's about being proactive.
Yes.
In our self-assessment and not waiting for someone else to point out our blind spots.
Right.
So that proactive approach leads perfectly into Scroggins' third principle for self-leadership.
Okay.
Making a plan.
Okay.
And he calls it a lead me plan.
Got it.
It's about being intentional about your growth. So you need to know where you are, where you want to go.
Yeah.
What steps you need to take to get there.
Right.
Just like you'd map out a road trip.
Exactly.
But unlike a road trip, this journey is ongoing.
Always is.
Right. And so he stresses the importance of regular check-ins and course corrections along the way. And so having someone to hold you accountable is invaluable. It could be a mentor, a coach, a trusted friend who can provide objective feedback and encouragement along the way.
Yeah.
It's almost like having a personal trainer for your leadership development.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Scroggins really emphasizes the power of discipline in becoming a better leader.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
It's not about waiting for the perfect opportunity or the perfect title.
Right.
It's about consistently choosing to lead yourself well.
Yeah.
Even in the smallest of ways.
Even the small things.
Right. So even if you're not currently in a formal leadership position, what's one small act of self-leadership you think you could start practicing today?
I mean, I think sometimes the simplest acts are the most powerful. You know, like making your bed every morning.
Right. Yeah.
It seems insignificant.
Right.
But it's instilling a sense of order and discipline that carries over into other areas of your life.
Right.
Right.
Those small wins build momentum.
Yeah.
And speaking of momentum, let's talk about those times when we might feel stuck.
Okay.
Yeah. So Scroggins acknowledges that there are situations where despite our best efforts, a particular work environment might be hindering our growth.
Okay.
And so before making any drastic decisions, Scroggins suggests we take a step back and do a bit of soul searching. Like, are we holding our boss to impossible standards?
Oh, yeah.
Have we truly committed ourselves to the job and given it our best effort? And have we communicated our concerns and frustrations clearly and respectfully? Right. It's about making sure we've exhausted all options before throwing in the towel.
Right. Yeah.
Leaving a job shouldn't be a rash decision fueled by emotion.
Exactly.
It should be a strategic move that aligns with our long-term goals.
Absolutely.
And so even if you're considering a change, remember that every situation offers an opportunity for leadership growth.
Yeah.
It's all about perspective.
Right.
And so Scroggins uses this analogy of a panoramic picture.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Encouraging us to step back and see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And so it's about understanding how our individual roles contribute to the larger mission of the organization, right? Even if we're not in charge, we can still contribute to the overall success by being diligent. Proactive. And positive. And to cultivate that positive mindset, Scroggins suggests we focus on 3 key things. First, trusting in God's plan for our lives. Right. Second, maintaining a hopeful outlook for the future. And third, being a source of encouragement and inspiration for those around us. Right.
Yeah.
It's about choosing to see the good even when things are tough.
Right.
It's about bringing our best selves to work every day, regardless of the circumstances.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't mean we blindly accept everything as it is.
Right.
Yeah. Scroggins emphasizes that being a good leader also involves being a critical thinker. It's about being able to question assumptions. Identify problems.
And offer solutions. But what separates a good leader from a great leader when it comes to this kind of critical thinking?
Okay, so Scroggins actually outlines 4 key shifts that can really help us sharpen our critical thinking skills. The first is shifting from thinking like an employee to thinking like an owner.
Right.
Yeah. Take ownership of your work and be invested in the success of the entire organization.
I love that. It's like suddenly you're not just showing up to do a job. You're building something bigger than yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And so with that ownership mindset comes a greater sense of responsibility. And a willingness to go the extra mile.
Absolutely.
The second shift Scroggins highlights is about making time to think. Which I think is so crucial because it's so easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of tasks.
All those tasks.
And deadlines. But carving out that space for reflection is essential. So to schedule it in your calendar if you have to. Make the time to step back from the daily grind and simply think.
Just think.
Analyze situations, brainstorm solutions. Consider different perspectives. And it's amazing what insights emerge.
Absolutely.
When we give ourselves permission to just think. And then once you've had those aha moments, you need to be able to communicate them effectively. And so that's the third shift that Scroggins emphasizes. He emphasizes communicating in a way that's solution-oriented, not problem-focused. So instead of just highlighting what's wrong, present your ideas in a way that shows you're already thinking about how to make things better.
Exactly.
Right.
It's about being a problem solver, not a complainer.
Yes, exactly.
And to wrap up these shifts, Scroggins adds a final crucial element. Leading with love. Have you ever been in a situation where someone with authority led with fear? Or intimidation.
All the time.
How did that impact you?
I think most of us have experienced that. And it rarely brings out the best in people.
No.
Creates an environment of anxiety and distrust.
Right.
But when the leader leads with love, it it fosters a completely different dynamic.
Right.
Yeah. It's about approaching every interaction, even the difficult ones, with a genuine desire to understand and support those around you.
Yeah.
And just creating a culture of respect where everyone feels valued.
That's a powerful distinction.
It is.
It's not about being a pushover.
No.
It's about creating an environment where everyone feels safe. Exactly.
To contribute their best.
Yeah.
And that leads us to one of the most crucial and often most intimidating aspects of leading when you're not in charge.
Right.
Challenging up.
Challenging up.
So what is challenging up?
Yeah.
It's the art of respectfully questioning
the
status quo, even when interacting with superiors.
Absolutely.
What makes it so challenging is the power dynamic at play.
Right.
But Scroggins offers some brilliant advice on how to approach this effectively.
Yeah.
One is he stresses the importance of framing your challenges as solutions.
Right. Yeah.
And aligning your ideas with the organization's overall goals.
Right.
So it's not about tearing things down.
Right.
It's about building something better.
Yes.
And so it's about doing so with humility
right.
and a willingness to learn.
Yeah.
You don't have all the answers.
No.
Approaching
these conversations with curiosity.
Right.
And a desire to understand different perspectives can go a long way.
Right.
And he uses a great example in the book, the story of Shane Taub, the Chick-fil-A operator.
Oh, yeah.
Who challenged the company's no milkshake policy.
No milkshake policy.
So what made his approach so effective?
So Todd didn't storm into corporate headquarters with a list of demands.
Right.
He carefully crafted his argument, highlighting the potential benefits for the company, and presented a practical plan for implementation.
Right.
He challenged up.
Yeah.
But he did so respectfully, strategically, and with a focus on solutions.
Right.
And now we all get to enjoy those delicious milkshakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it really highlights that even when you're not in charge, you can still make a real impact.
Yeah.
By having the courage to challenge the status quo.
Right.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Challenging up effectively requires a solid foundation of trust and respect.
Yeah.
And that's where those self-leadership principles that we discussed earlier become so crucial.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not leading yourself well,
right,
you can't expect to effectively influence others, especially those in positions of authority.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, you can't give what you don't have.
Right.
So you need to embody those principles of self-leadership.
Yeah.
The discipline, the integrity, the respect.
Right.
Before you can effectively challenge up.
Exactly.
So how do we actually go about challenging up?
Okay.
In a way that's constructive and leads to positive change.
Right.
That's where the art of challenging up comes in.
Right.
And Scroggins breaks it down beautifully.
Yeah.
He gives us 7 key strategies for doing it well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The first is avoid definitive statements.
Okay.
So instead of saying, this is wrong,
try a more curious approach.
Yeah.
Like, I'm wondering if there might be a better way.
Yeah.
How do you think that shift in language might impact the conversation?
I think that subtle shift in language is huge.
Yeah.
It opens up a dialogue.
Right.
Instead of shutting it down.
Yeah.
It invites collaboration.
Yeah.
And shows that you're not coming from a place of judgment or negativity.
Right.
It's about approaching the situation with a genuine desire to find solutions.
Right.
Together.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And along those lines, Scroggins advises us to steer clear of personal attacks.
Yeah.
Right. So instead of blaming individuals, focus on addressing the issue itself.
The issue.
Right.
Wow.
Stay professional. Stay focused on the problem at hand.
Yeah.
And resist the temptation to make it personal.
Right.
Because when it gets personal, it's no longer about finding solutions.
Right.
It's about winning an argument.
Right.
And that's never productive.
Yeah.
So instead, channel your inner Sherlock Holmes.
Okay.
And be specific with your observations.
Right.
Back up your claims with evidence.
Evidence.
So instead of just saying, I have a feeling this isn't working, articulate why you feel that way.
Yeah.
Provide concrete examples to support your position.
Right.
Data is your friend in these situations.
Yeah.
It takes the emotion out of it and makes your argument more objective and persuasive.
Right.
Even when you're proposing a change make sure to acknowledge what is working.
Okay.
Don't just focus on the negative.
Right. Yeah.
It's about showing that you're not just being critical for the sake of being critical.
Right.
You're approaching the challenge with a balanced perspective.
Balanced perspective, yeah.
And it can also help to disarm the person you're challenging.
Right.
It shows that you're not there to tear down their work. You're there to build upon it.
Yeah. And before jumping in with your ideas, it's crucial to understand why things are done the way they are.
Right.
Ask questions. Listen actively. Be open to learning from those who might have a different point of view.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's about showing respect for the current process and the people involved.
Right.
Even if you disagree with it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that understanding might lead you to modify your approach or even abandon your idea altogether.
Right.
This next strategy is a big one.
Okay.
Be willing to walk away. Welcome back. Last time we were diving deep into Clay Scroggins' How to Lead When You're Not in Charge.
Right.
And we talked about identity, ambition, self-leadership, those inner foundations of influence. And now I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
To explore how this plays out in real-world situations.
Yeah, me too.
One concept that Scroggins brings up that I thought was really powerful is this whole idea of thinking like an owner.
Yeah.
You know, I know for me it was a little bit of a light bulb moment.
For me too, yeah.
It completely shifts your perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
Instead of just clocking in and doing your assigned tasks.
Yeah.
You know, you start seeing things from this broader
view.
Bigger picture, yeah. You become invested in the success of the whole organization, not just your little corner of it.
Right. It's like you suddenly care about the overall health of the company.
Yeah.
Not just whether you're hitting your individual metrics, you know. You start asking yourself, like, if this were my company, how would I handle this situation?
Yeah.
What could I do to add value?
Yeah.
Even if it's outside my official job description.
Have you ever worked with someone who embodies that ownership mindset?
Oh, absolutely.
What are they like?
They're the ones who are always thinking ahead, proactively solving problems, going the extra mile without being asked. And the funny thing is, they're often not even in management positions.
Right. It's like they're intrinsically motivated to make things better, regardless of their role or title.
Yeah.
And Scroggins points out that this mindset isn't just beneficial in the workplace.
Yeah.
It applies to any area of life where you want to make a difference.
Right.
It's about taking ownership of your actions and their impact on the world around you. Seeing yourself as an active participant.
Yes.
In shaping things. Not a passive bystander.
Right.
And this leads us to those moments when we need to challenge the status quo.
Yes.
And that's where things can get a bit tricky.
They can.
Especially when it involves those in authority.
Right.
This whole idea of challenging up can feel so intimidating.
It can.
Especially if you're someone who prefers to avoid conflict.
Right.
What advice does Scroggins offer for approaching these conversations effectively?
He really emphasizes that it's not about being disrespectful or insubordinate.
Yeah.
It's about having the courage to speak up when you see something that could be improved.
Right.
You know, it's about approaching those conversations with humility, respect, and a genuine desire to make things better for everyone involved.
Right.
You know,
it's about the greater good.
It is.
Right. He uses a really compelling example in the book.
Okay.
Curt Flood, the baseball player, who challenged the traditional system and paved the way for free agency in the sport.
Yeah, that took some serious guts.
It did.
Yeah.
It's a powerful reminder that real progress often requires us to shake things up a bit, to challenge those long-held assumptions and be open to new possibilities.
Yeah.
But there's a real art to doing this well.
Right.
How do you find that balance between being assertive and being respectful?
So Scroggins outlines a few key things to keep in mind. One is timing, choosing the right moment to raise a challenging issue.
Right.
Sometimes it's better to wait for a more opportune time rather than disrupting the flow of a meeting or a conversation. It's about being sensitive to the context and reading the room.
It's like picking your battles.
Exactly.
You don't want to challenge everything all the time.
Right.
You got to be strategic about it.
You do.
And then, of course, there's the matter of tone.
Yeah.
It's so important to convey your message respectfully with a desire to collaborate rather than coming across as demanding or judgmental.
Yeah.
It's the difference between saying, this is completely wrong, and I'm wondering if we've considered this alternative approach.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That subtle shift in language
huge
makes a world of difference.
It does.
And this next point, I think, is so crucial. Always focus on solutions. Not just problems. So instead of simply pointing out what's wrong, come prepared with a plan for how to make things better.
Exactly.
Be the person who comes to the table with answers.
Yes.
Not just complaints.
Not complaints.
Show that you've thought things through.
Yeah.
That you're genuinely invested in finding solutions.
Right.
And sometimes that might involve suggesting something completely different from the way things have always been done.
Right.
This is where that thinking outside the box mentality comes in.
Exactly.
Scroggins reminds us that true innovation often requires us to challenge those long-held assumptions and be open to new possibilities.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best ideas come from those who aren't necessarily in positions of authority.
Right.
So as leaders, even if we are in a position of authority, we should create a space where everyone feels empowered to share their ideas, no matter how unconventional they may seem.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
It goes back to that ownership mentality. Yeah. When everyone feels invested in the success of the team or the organization, they're more likely to contribute their best ideas and be proactive in finding solutions.
Right.
It's about fostering that culture of innovation where everyone feels safe to speak up and share their thoughts.
Absolutely.
What are some ways we can create that kind of environment?
That's a great question.
Like, how do we do that?
Sometimes it's as simple as creating a designated space for brainstorming and innovation. It could be a physical space, like a dedicated room, or a virtual space, like a shared online platform. It's about signaling that this is a space where ideas are welcomed and valued. Where it's okay to take risks and think differently.
And that it's safe to fail.
Yes.
Yes. Like, that's a part of it.
It is.
And when it comes to challenging up, it's important to remember that it's not always about getting your way. Sometimes it's about knowing when to push back and when to let go.
How do you know when it's time to concede?
That must be a tough call sometimes.
It is. I think it requires a good dose of self-awareness and emotional intelligence. You need to be aware of your own motivations, your potential biases, and your emotional triggers. You know? Are you advocating for this idea because it's truly the best solution? Or is it more about ego or wanting to prove yourself right?
Those are some tough questions to ask yourself.
They are.
But I think they're essential for making sure we're approaching these situations with the right mindset.
Absolutely.
It's about discerning those situations where our input is truly essential and those where it's more appropriate to trust the judgment of those in authority.
And
remember, challenging up effectively is a skill that develops over time.
It does.
With practice
and feedback.
It's about learning to read the room, understand different perspectives, and communicate your message in a way that's both assertive and respectful. So it's not just about voicing our own ideas. It's also about being receptive to feedback. Even when it's challenging.
Can be.
For us to hear, you know, being open to learning and growing, even if it means admitting we were wrong, is a sign of true leadership.
It is.
It's about having that humility to recognize that we don't have all the answers.
We don't.
And being open to learning from others. Scroggins talks about cultivating a learning mindset. Where you see every experience as an opportunity for growth. You know? That means asking questions, actively seeking feedback, and being open to changing your mind. But let's face it, receiving negative feedback can be tough.
It can be tough.
You know, how do you handle those moments when the feedback stings a bit?
It's definitely not easy. But Scroggins reminds us that even negative feedback can be valuable. If we approach it with the right mindset. It's about separating the message from the messenger.
Okay.
Focusing on the substance of the feedback.
Right.
Rather than taking it personally.
Okay. Sometimes it helps to ask clarifying questions.
Yes.
To make sure you understand the feedback and the reasoning behind it.
Yeah. That's a great tip.
And even if you don't agree with the feedback.
Yeah.
Make sure to thank the person for sharing their thoughts with you.
Right. Yeah.
It shows that you respect their opinion and value their input.
Yeah.
And then, of course, take some time to reflect on the feedback.
Yeah.
And consider how you might use it to improve.
Right.
Turn that potentially uncomfortable moment into an opportunity for growth and development.
Exactly.
Yeah. When you approach feedback with that kind of open-minded, receptive attitude, it can be a powerful tool.
It can.
For personal and professional transformation.
Absolutely.
It can help us identify those blind spots.
Right.
Refine our skills.
Yeah.
And become more effective leaders. And that's what this journey's all about, right?
It is.
And that brings us to another really important aspect of leadership that Scroggins explores, the power of presence.
Presence, okay.
This idea that leadership isn't just about what you do.
Right.
It's also about who you are and how you show up in the world.
Right.
I loved this part of the book.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that being fully present in our interactions with others is a powerful form of leadership.
It is.
Especially in today's world, it's so easy to get distracted with all the technology, all the demands on our time.
Yeah.
But Scroggins emphasizes the importance of putting aside those distractions.
Right.
And truly focusing on the person in front of you.
The person, yeah.
It's about giving them your undivided attention, listening attentively, engaging with genuine interest and empathy.
Right.
It's about making them feel seen, heard, and valued. And I think those moments of genuine connection, where you're truly focused on the person in front of you, those are the moments that build trust, strengthen relationships, and create a lasting impact.
And it takes intentionality, though.
It does.
Yeah.
What are some things that we can do to be more present in our interactions with others?
One thing Scroggins suggests is to become more aware of our own distraction.
Right.
So notice when your mind wanders, when you're checking your phone instead of engaging in the conversation.
Right.
When you're more focused on what you're going to say next than on truly listening to the other person.
Yeah.
It's
about catching ourselves in those moments.
Right.
And making a conscious choice to shift our focus back to the person in front of us.
To the person.
Right. And sometimes it means setting boundaries around our technology.
Yeah.
Maybe that means silencing your phone during meetings.
Right.
Closing your laptop when you're having a conversation or setting designated times for checking email and social media.
Right.
So you're not constantly interrupting your interactions with others.
Right.
It's about creating space for those moments of genuine connection.
Yeah.
And sometimes it simply means slowing down. Taking a few deep breaths before a meeting.
Right.
Pausing before responding to a question. Allowing yourself a moment of silence to collect your thoughts. It's about creating those small pockets of stillness in your day that allow you to be more grounded and centered. And I think that grounded presence, it radiates outwards.
It does.
It creates a sense of calm and confidence that can be incredibly reassuring and inspiring for those around you.
Scroggins reminds us that true leadership isn't about being the loudest voice in the room.
Right.
It's about being the most present.
Yeah.
It's about creating a space where others feel heard, understood, and valued.
So how do we make sure that our presence is one that inspires, encourages, and uplifts those around us?
Right.
What are some qualities that we can cultivate that'll radiate outwards and create a positive impact?
So Scroggins highlights a few key qualities that I think are essential for cultivating a positive and impactful presence. One is genuineness. Yeah.
Being authentically yourself without pretense or facade.
Right.
It's about letting your true personality shine through and allowing others to see the real you.
The real you.
And in a world where we're often bombarded with images of perfection and success, that kind of genuineness can be incredibly refreshing and inspiring.
It is.
It creates a sense of connection and relatability.
That does.
Another important quality is kindness.
Kindness,
Treating others with respect, compassion, and empathy.
Yeah.
It's about offering a helping hand, a listening ear,
right.
or a word of encouragement.
Word of encouragement.
You know, those small acts of kindness can make a world of difference.
Absolutely.
It's about choosing to be a source of positivity and support in the world.
Support, yeah.
And then there's enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm.
Bringing energy and passion to your work and your interactions with others. You know, it's about being genuinely excited about what you're doing and sharing that excitement with those around you. Yeah. Enthusiasm is contagious.
It is.
It can spark creativity, boost morale, and inspire others to give their best.
Right.
And it goes back to finding work that you're passionate about, you know, work that aligns with your values and interests.
Yeah.
When you're doing work that you love, it shows.
It shows.
You know?
Absolutely.
And then, and finally, let's not forget the importance of humor.
Humor.
You know?
Yeah.
Bringing a sense of lightness and joy to our interactions with others.
Right.
You know, being able to laugh at ourselves, to share a joke, to find the humor in everyday situations. Yeah. Laughter is such a powerful antidote to stress and negativity.
It is.
It can diffuse tension, build camaraderie, create a more positive and enjoyable work environment.
It does.
Scroggins reminds us that leadership isn't about being serious all the time.
Right.
It's about creating a space where people feel comfortable, relaxed, and even a little bit playful. And playfulness can be so powerful.
It is.
It can spark creativity and innovation. It can help us approach challenges with a fresh perspective.
Right.
So as we think about cultivating a positive and impactful presence, let's remember those key qualities: genuineness, kindness, enthusiasm, and humor. Let's strive to be the kind of leaders who inspire, encourage, and uplift those around us.
Absolutely.
Let's make our presence a gift to the world.
I love that.
You know?
Yeah.
And speaking of gifts, Scroggins talks about the importance of generosity and leadership.
Right.
You know, it's about giving freely of your time, your talents, your resources to support the growth and development of those around you.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that true leadership isn't about hoarding power or resources, right? It's about empowering others to reach their full potential.
Exactly. He uses the example of Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
You know, who constantly poured himself out for the good of others.
Right.
Healing the sick, feeding the hungry, teaching those who were eager to learn. He didn't hold back his knowledge or power.
Right.
He freely gave it away.
Yeah.
To empower others to live their best lives.
That's a powerful model of leadership.
It is.
And it challenges us to think about how we can be more generous in our own lives.
Right.
And I think generosity doesn't have to involve grand gestures or extravagant gifts.
No, it doesn't.
It can be as simple as offering a word of encouragement, sharing a helpful resource, or simply taking the time to listen attentively to someone who needs to talk.
Just listen.
You know, it's about those small acts of generosity that can have a ripple effect, brightening someone's day and inspiring them to pay it forward. Scroggins reminds us that generosity creates a cycle of giving and receiving that benefits everyone involved.
Everyone.
So let's all make generosity a hallmark of our leadership style.
Okay.
You know, looking for opportunities to mentor others, share our expertise, and offer support and encouragement wherever we can.
Absolutely. And speaking of leadership styles, Scroggins highlights a crucial point that really resonated with me. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to leadership.
Right.
We all have our own unique strengths, talents, and personalities that shape how we lead.
That's something I've observed so many times in my own life. You know, the best leaders I've worked with were the ones who were authentically themselves, leading in a way that felt natural and genuine to them.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And Scroggins encourages us to embrace those individual differences.
Well, absolutely.
Don't try to imitate other leaders or force yourself into a mold that doesn't fit.
Yeah. Find your own unique voice and let it shine through.
Right. And that can be a challenge.
It is.
Especially when we're surrounded by messages that tell us we need to be a certain way to be successful.
Right.
But it's so important to resist that temptation to conform.
It is.
The world needs diverse leaders who bring different perspectives and approaches to the table.
Yes.
What are some of the ways you've seen leaders embrace their individuality and find their own unique style?
I've seen leaders be incredibly successful by leading with humor, by being incredibly analytical and data-driven, by being passionate storytellers, and everything in between, you know? The key is to leverage those strengths that come naturally to you.
It's about playing to your strengths and lead in a way that feels authentic and true to yourself. And if you're not sure what your unique leadership style is, how do you go about discovering it?
Scroggins encourages us to be more self-aware. You know, think about your natural strengths and talents. What are your core values and beliefs? What kind of impact do you want to make on the world? And then let those answers guide you as you develop your own unique approach to leadership.
It's a journey of self-discovery.
It is.
And sometimes it involves stepping outside your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
You know, and experimenting with different approaches. Be open to learning and growing, trying new things, discovering what works best for you and the people you're leading. Scroggins reminds us that leadership isn't a destination. It's a journey.
It's a journey
of constant learning, adapting, and refining our approach. You know, and that brings us to something that I think we often don't think about until much later in our careers. Legacy. Scroggins challenges us to think beyond our own individual achievements and consider the lasting impact we want to leave behind. It's about asking yourself, what do I want to be remembered for? What kind of world do I want to create for future generations? It's about viewing your work and your leadership as part of a larger story. A story that extends beyond your own lifetime.
I like that.
I think that can be a powerful and inspiring perspective.
It is.
You know, it gives our work meaning and purpose beyond just climbing the ladder or getting that next promotion. It's about making a contribution that matters. So how do we go about creating that kind of legacy?
Scroggins encourages us to start by identifying our core values and beliefs. And then letting those guide our actions and decisions. You know, what are you most passionate about? What do you stand for? What kind of world do you want to create? And then let those answers shape your work, your relationships, and your leadership.
He reminds us that we have the power to leave a legacy of love, kindness, compassion, and justice. We can choose to be the kind of leaders who inspire others to be their best, who fight for what's right, who make the world a better place. And that legacy can start with small, seemingly insignificant acts. You know? Welcome back to our deep dive into Clay Scroggins' How to Lead When You're Not in Charge.
It's amazing how we often think of leadership you know, in terms of these grand, traumatic actions. But Scroggins reminds us that real leadership is often much quieter and more subtle.
It's subtle.
You know, it's those everyday choices we make, the way we interact with those around us, the small acts of service and encouragement we offer.
Those moments when we choose to be a source of positivity and support. Even when things are tough. You know, when we show up with integrity and treat everyone with respect, regardless of our position. Those seemingly small things can create a ripple effect, you know, fostering a culture of excellence, kindness, and collaboration that benefits everyone.
Absolutely.
I love how Scroggins talks about creating those win-win situations where everyone feels valued and respected, where success is shared. It's a shift away from that zero-sum mentality where one person's game is another person's loss. Instead, we focus on building each other up, recognizing that we're all on the same team and that when one person succeeds, we all succeed. But creating that kind of win-win culture takes real intentionality.
It does.
It means making a conscious choice to put the needs of others ahead of our own, to celebrate the successes of those around us, and to be willing to share the credit.
You
know, it's about recognizing that true leadership isn't about being the star of the show. It's about creating a stage where everyone has the opportunity to shine.
I love that.
And that kind of leadership can be incredibly powerful. You know? Creating a shared sense of purpose and a feeling of collective achievement.
Right.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into leading when you're not in charge, let's remember those key takeaways that Scroggins emphasizes. So it's about cultivating influence, not just wielding authority.
Right.
It's about leading ourselves first.
Right.
Mastering those principles of self-leadership we discussed. It's about embracing our ambition and directing it towards a positive impact.
Yes.
It's about having the courage to challenge up and the wisdom to do it effectively.
Yeah.
It's about leading laterally. Forging strong relationships with our peers and fostering a collaborative work environment.
Right.
But ultimately, it's about leading with love.
Leading with love.
Creating a culture of generosity, respect, and shared success.
Shared success.
It's about recognizing that each of us has the capacity to lead, regardless of our position or title.
Right.
And by putting these principles into practice, we can make a tangible difference in the world around us.
Absolutely.
So as we conclude this deep dive, we want to leave you with a thought-provoking question to consider.
Okay.
What seemingly small action can you take today to lead more effectively in your current situation?
That's a great question.
You know, it might be something as simple as expressing gratitude to a colleague, offering help on a project, or just choosing to be a more positive and encouraging presence. Remember, true leadership isn't about the title you hold. It's about the impact you make on those around you. And we all have the power within us to make a positive impact.
We do.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was fun.
Until next time, keep leading.